Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are at Monday. Rise and shine. What are you doing? How are things going? How was your weekend? Okay, so I have a question for you to start off. I'm here. I just finished walking Duncan, and I walked in and I'm hungry. I talked about this before. Some mornings I am just hungry. Sometimes I'm just not. Today's a hungry day, so I'm making bacon. Life is better with a little bit of bacon. Just saying. And so I'm making bacon, and sometimes I get bacon, and there's the window that they show you doesn't they like plan it just right so it looks totally different than what is actually in the package, and there's a section of just fat on the end. Do you cut the fat off before you cook the bacon? I mean, if it's got meat in it, I don't cut it off, obviously. But here, I'll show you. Hang on. I cut the end of the fat, a big chunk of fat off, because a couple of reasons. Hey, Kimberly, do you cut the fat off of the bacon? Do you even eat bacon? But I do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't want to eat all that fat. I mean, I do like fatty, some fat on my bacon. But I don't. When I cook it, it creates so much fat oil in the pan that sometimes it makes my bacon crispier than I want it. So I cut off all the extra, only if there's the end of it. I don't go through and carve out the fat. I leave the fat. But if the end has a big chunk of fat with no meat, I just cut that part off. And so I am making bacon, and I'm also making, my carb of choice, sweet potatoes. Yeah, I'll start here up on the stove. And then what I'll do is, there's not enough room in this teeny butt oven. Here, I'll show you. Look, the oven is really, really tiny. I guess it's bigger than just 2 burners, but it's not big enough. It only has 1 rack. So I only have enough room for 1 pan. So I will cook this on the stove for a little bit, and then when the bacon's done, I'll take it out. And yes, I will pat the fat off the bacon. I don't like greasy bacon. So I'll put it on a paper towel, and I'll pat the grease off the bacon, and I'll stick the sweet potatoes on a piece of parchment paper and put it in the oven. And I'll cook them that way. I'll roast them the rest of the way. Never thought of that. I'll try that one day. Yeah, I just think that it's a little bit more fat than I need. It's not the fat that I don't want to consume the fat. It's that I don't like all the grease. So, just curious, a culinary question. Here's another question. I search high and low, and there's very few bacon that don't have sugar in them. I don't understand why we need sugar in our bacon. Why do we need sugar in our bacon? Can someone please explain to me? I will tell you that I buy bacon with no sugar, and I also buy uncured bacon, and it is the bomb diggity. We got turned on to uncured meats. Oh my God. 15 years ago, we went to a really little restaurant that was owned by 2 brothers in Warrenton, and they had uncured ham, and John said that it was the most tender, tasty ham he had ever eaten. And so now we get uncured meats whenever we can. Let's see. Kimberly, I buy my bacon and meat from a farmer, so I don't really know how much sugar would be. Yeah, interesting. A good question to ask them, though. When they cure it, or when they do, is it uncured? Is it cured? I would think they wouldn't put sugar if you're getting it from a farmer. I would hope not. But yeah, that's what I do. Just an FYI. I cut off the excess fat if there's too much on the end. And when it comes out, I put it on paper towel, and then I pat all the extra grease off. It upsets my stomach a little bit if I have too much of a greasy food. But I love me some bacon. Love, love, love me some bacon. And sweet potatoes are always yummy, especially when they are roasted. Because you know what I found? You'll have to let me know if you find this too. When I cook sweet potatoes and I roast them and they're a little bit burnt around the edges, I don't love burnt stuff, but a little bit burnt, it almost tastes like toasted marshmallows for some reason. You know, the ones that you toast over a fire, like a campfire, not when you burn them, but when they're brown and toasty all the way around, and they're gooey in the middle. Man, it's been a hot minute since I've had a marshmallow. But it reminds me of that flavor, that taste, yeah. So if you end up roasting like little cubes of sweet potatoes and it gets a little bit on the burnt side, not charcoaled, not a piece of charcoal, a little burnt, taste it and see if it tastes like marshmallows. I'm curious if anybody else feels that way. So how did your weekend go? Anything fun and exciting happen? Anything not so fun and exciting that you want to talk about? Let me know in a comment below. I'm here for you. I'm here to help. I'm here to shed some light, perspective, and maybe give you a little bit of insight that you might not have seen things the same way. So this weekend, I had a battle with my perfectionism. So those of you who might not know this about me, I am a reformed perfectionist in training. It's something that I am constantly working on. My mom used to tell a story when I was just learning how to write. You remember the papers? The paper was like really super thin. I think it was from like recycled paper. And she said that I would go to write my name, and if it wasn't absolutely perfect, I would erase it. And I had erased it so many times that I had actually caused a hole in the paper. And that behavior and that need to have it just like if I have my A, I'm not that way anymore in that way, but if I have like an A and this one is a little bit more out than this one, I would have to, I actually had to, come to think of it, I had to redo the A on the mug that I painted this weekend. I went painting pottery with my mom this weekend, and on the bottom I wrote my initials, but when I did the utensil I was using kind of slipped, so it went A, but the line across was so up high that you couldn't even see the little triangle on the top. It just kind of looked blotchy. So I had to erase it. I had to take it off and redo it. Now, these things probably weren't exactly the same angle, and it might not, the horizontal line might not have been exactly like halfway down or whatever, but at least it created that triangle so you could see it was an A. Let's see. I went back home to Orangeville, visit my son, but it didn't work out. But I did have some fun with my friends, and my sister and my nephews went to a funeral for a good friend. Oh, your sister went to a funeral for a good friend, or you went to a funeral for a good friend? I'm sad to hear that it didn't work out for you to see your son, because I know that's important to you. I am moving around the sweet potatoes because this is an electric oven where I am now, so there is no flame, is making them too burnt without cooking them all the way through. Well, I'm glad you got to see family. That's always nice. It's super nice to see family and spend time together. My nephew actually called me last week. It was out of the blue, and it was really kind of nice to hear from him. I had to go to a funeral on Saturday for a good friend, but in between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I visited a bunch of my friends from back home and spent some evening night with my sister and nephew. That's so nice. How far is that from where you are? How far did you have to travel? Yeah, well, it's good that you got to see family. And it's sad that you weren't able to spend it with your son. But family time is special. At least it is for me. Hey, Seema, good morning. Are you out walking? Are you out walking? Because Monday you will go out walking. Are you out walking, my friend? Bundle up. I hear it's cold back home. So what was I saying? So, reform perfectionist. And so I took my mom to a paint your own pottery place. Very interesting. I thought most people had known about painting your own pottery. I thought most people had done it. Evidently, she had not, because she asked me if she needed to bring her own pottery to paint, which makes sense given the title, Paint Your Own Pottery. But I had to explain to her how it works. And we get there and we find our pottery. I did pretty good there. I made that decision pretty quickly, but I had no idea what color to paint it. I ended up with a mug. And I wanted it because I wanted a new mug to share when I come on with you guys. And I figured that would be easy, right? Easy peasy, no worries. And so on the mug was like a rectangle on one side, right? And it had an I, a heart, and the word you. And the I, heart, you was elevated from the mug. And then there was like a recessed part around it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to paint the whole mug except this rectangle part. And the back part of the rectangle would be the white of the mug, right? I don't have to paint that. And then I just need to paint in the heart. That should be easy peasy. And they have these really skinny tools to use. It shouldn't be angst, right? It should be simple. Oh my goodness. Hang on. My bacon! Making bacon. Hold on. Why is it ovens don't all cook evenly? Why is that? This one is obviously cooking part of my bacon quicker than the other. So I picked up this mug, and it took me forever to figure out what color I wanted. Do I want it this color? Do I want it that color? Do I want it ombre? If I want it ombre, what color am I going to choose? Do I want speckles in it? Do I want the ones that come with speckles? Or do I want to actually try my hand at creating speckles by painting it and then getting another thing of paint and getting a paintbrush and then like flicking the paint onto it? I was like, oh no, that will make me a little bit cray-cray, right? Because if the splatters end up bigger in some places than in others, I was like, better not do that. So I did the one with the like glitter and stuff in the paint, the splecks of different color in the paint. And I was like, this will be easy. Like 3/4 of it is just painting it. Be simple. I'll get a big fat brush, no worries. And I can be careful right at the rim so I don't get it on the rim. I can get that off. That's okay. So I do that, but I accidentally get part of the white that I wanted with this color, this like purple color. And I know that it's water-based, so I can just wipe it off. So I got to wipe it off, but I can still see some. And I know that if they fire it and I see like some purple in the background, that's going to irritate the poop out of me. It's like a picture on a wall that's just slightly crooked. Ooh, yeah, I can't. That part of my perfectionism, I haven't been able to conquer. So knowing that about myself, I was like, now I'm going to have to paint all the way around all the letters, and I'm going to have to paint it in white. So I said, should I paint the letters first and then do the white? She goes, no, you can do the white first. So I did the white first, and then I went in with the letters, and then I slipped. You're painting and you go, or something jiggles, and you get outside the line that you wanted, and the line, instead of like the eye being like this, the eye is like that. Not something I can let go. That was not something I could let go. So you book a table for like an hour. And my mom had incredible patience with me as I did and then redid and then did again and then corrected and then perfected and then all of the letters. The heart, the part of the heart that comes in, and it comes in like this and the top right here. Well, my heart wasn't looking like that. It was looking like this, and it looked weird. So then I had to put some white in, but then one part of the heart was fat and the other part of the heart was skinny. And I was like, I can't let that go. I just couldn't let it go. So took me 2.5 hours to paint a mug. Yeah, 2.5 hours to find it, choose the paint, and paint it. My mom, I think, was sitting for an hour talking to children and everything around us. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. She was a patience of a saint. She never once said, just leave it, it looks great. And then I finally get it looking pretty darn good. And then I needed to turn it over so that I could write the year on it and write my name. And 2.5 hours. And then it was 12:30 and we were starving, so we went for lunch. And I pick it up next weekend. We'll go back, we'll pick it up. We're going to go by the farmer's market. She was a little concerned that it was going to be too cold, so she didn't want to come and do something outside, and that's why we selected to do something inside. But perfectionism is real. Perfectionism is real. And I know up here that nothing is perfect. I also know that perfectly imperfect is a good thing. I also know that it looks good when it's not perfect. But my brain just won't let it go sometimes. Certain things I can. Certain things I can let go. I've worked hard to let that go. Other times I just can't. I just can't. So it'll be interesting to see once it fires just what it looks like. And I will be sure to share with you next week when I get it back. So that is something that I did this weekend. I also read my book, which, I didn't get much time to do that, but it was good to sit and read. What book am I reading? You might be asking. It was a book that I found in the apartment. And it is not a self-help book, although I do have one of those too. This one is the 5-star weekend. And I like it because it is about a woman who, oh no, I forgot my sweet potatoes. Now they're definitely going to be charred. Oh no. That's what happens when I try and do too many things at one time. Oh no, they're okay. Yay. It's about a woman who takes a friend from each period of her life and asks them to come out for the weekend. And so it's 5 of them. It's her and 4 of her. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and 4 of her friends, I think. So 1 from childhood, 1 from like college, 1 from after college, like child rearing, and 1 from more recent, right? And they're all going to come. She has a place in Nantucket, so she's invited them to Nantucket for the weekend. And, the backstories, and she's at a place her husband has, after having her child leave the home, she started getting into cooking and all of that, and she became, I don't want to say internet famous, but internet famous, right? A lot of people knew her and followed her, and she had books and stuff, and that really weighed on her husband. And her husband ends up dying, which, causes some sadness. And then she's replaying her relationship with her husband. She's at a point in her life where she's analyzing a lot of things. And she's getting all these girls together for a 5-star weekend. And it's very interesting, the different backgrounds of the women and the places that they're at and their different relationships and how they interact and their insecurities and, what they put out in the world. And the woman, her name is Hollis, I think. She has a daughter, Carolyn, and Carolyn is studying to be a filmmaker. So she asks Carolyn to come and document the weekend. And Carolyn and her mom are on the outs. And Carolyn doesn't think this is a good thing, that her mother is doing this party, this celebration, like 9 months or 10 months or a year after her dad has passed. She feels it's too soon. I think too soon is relative, but she feels it's too soon. And so she is not happy with her mother, but she agrees to do this because her mother's going to pay her. And finding out more information about her mom and having more compassion about the life that her mother lived that she had no idea about, what is heartwarming. It really is. And it just goes to show that, I have children and they don't really know. They know snippets of stories that I may have told them, but they don't know what I was like in college for reals. And they don't know what it was like for me moving multiple times growing up, always being the new kid in town, never, not having a friend at lunch. And they don't see that, right? They don't get to see those versions of me that I lived to create the version of me that I am living now. And so it's interesting. And then it made me realize that that's also true of my mother, that I only know my mom based on my experience with her, my time with her, but she lived a whole life before I was around. And that created the woman that she is when she had me and raised me, and then other life situations created the woman that she is now. And seeing that from a different perspective. I always talk about the stories we tell ourselves and the perspectives that we have about life. Just gives me a new appreciation and an opportunity to step back and reflect in ways that I have not about my mother, right? I don't know if I need to get my bacon. Hold on. I don't know if I need to get some of my bacon because this oven is cooking faster in some places and not in others. If you've had a good relationship with your mom or your parents or a not so good one, but realizing that, they had a whole life before you, and that even though they may look like they have it all together, a lot of us don't. We just don't. This woman, Hollis, who has this very big following and very big this, that, and the other, she looks like she's got it all together. I mean, she's got this really nice house in Nantucket. She, puts on really beautiful food and dinner parties, and she was married to a doctor. It was a lot, right? It looked like a great life. But behind the curtain, there was a lot of other things going on. And when I can remember that about others, whether that's my daughter or my mom or my friend or my sister or I think it's especially important with my mom or my dad, or, because our relationships with them are so very different than, the relationships they have with others. And so it gave me a new perspective, and a new appreciation and a new understanding of some things that, might be insecurities that I was like, really? Because I don't see them. because I don't see them. And realizing that my kids probably don't see those in me, right? I know, I can't just read a book to read a book. I always put some perspective or my life into it, or learning lessons, even though it's just, it is what I would call more of a pleasure book than a personal growth book. It, hits home sometimes. So if you're interested in a book, it's a pretty decent one. And other than that, I hope that you have a mega, marvelous, magical, magnificent Monday, my friend. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Keeping it real. See ya.